Welcome to the Shellonomics Podcast, presented by King Midas, your ultimate source for pure Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles entertainment. Stay tuned and dive deep into the Turtleverse with us. Catch all the action on YouTube and Twitch for non-stop Ninja Turtles adventures and retro gaming thrills.
King Mike and the heroes in a half shell.
Greetings, all. Another episode of Shellonomics here. Today we're going to be breaking down every single Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle retro game your rank. The ranks we have are Mouser, Foot Soldier, Evil Brain from Dimension, Ninja, and Master. I have played every one of these games. We're just going to go down the list left to right, starting with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for Ninja. Now, this game gets a lot of heat, and it is rightfully so. And I think it's because we were spoiled as kids with popular arcade games over here on the left and right. Turtles were known as beat 'em up, quarter eaters, and you had a lot of fun playing with your. This one is more a single player story mode adventure side scrolling game, almost like the other Konami games like Castlevania. However, being somebody who has finally beaten this one, if you guys are listening to this on Spotify, you can check us out on YouTube, and if you are on YouTube, go ahead and like and subscribe, and you can see me finally beating this game in a full playthrough without cheating. Yes, it took me until 2024 to finally beat Ninja Turtles 1. I'm going to throw this in the C tier. Now, I appreciate this game a lot more as I've gotten older. However, there are some things that are very frustrating. So, the good news, though, is if you have a newer console or play games on Steam, you can get what's called the Cowabunga Collection. If you don't want to play this on original hardware, if you don't have a Nintendo Entertainment System anywhere, buy the Cowabunga Collection and relive this journey. And what's cool about it is you can actually rewind. So let's say you're struggling with the infamous water, right? You have to swim around and you have to dissect all of these. What happens here is you can actually rewind your progress. And it's great because the final level, if you have not played this game, you're going to have to stock up on a special weapon unless you're good at ducking or having a specific glitch jump, one of my good friends told me. So I would say this is still C tier. I'd recommend everybody play this game at least once because you'll at least be able to take on Bebop and Rocksteady in the early stage, which is pretty fun. There's a lot of really cool things about this one too. I mean, you get to drive the turtle van. You get some really cool cutscenes. There's fantastic music, a great story. And this one is aged very well, in my opinion, because if you're somebody who grew up in the retro gaming era and you practice and you stick with it and you check out some YouTube video playthroughs or maybe an old Nintendo Power for some tips, you too can definitely beat Ninja Turtles for Nintendo. I did, and it was probably one of the most satisfying feelings I've ever had. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. There was so much joy coming from beating this game. So highly recommend everybody this one. Now, Turtles 2, we're going to throw this down in the Foot Soldier rank, and here's why. We were spoiled with the next game that's coming up, which is Turtles 3. Turtles 2 is a lot of fun. However, when you get right down to it, you can only play with 2 players. And again, this is just rankings here between the Turtle games. These games outshine a lot of other retro games. I love Turtles. We're just doing a rank from all of these games. But when you think about it, every boss is pretty much just a drop-kicking fest. You can get a little repetitive. And there's also a move you need to do when you're fighting the foot. Just hitting your B and A on a Nintendo pad. What that's going to do is that is going to give you a one-hit kill, hitting the foot soldiers with 2 hits. So I do recommend playing this one. But if we're comparing it, this is just comparing all the Ninja Turtle games in the retro era as a whole. It is going to go another good one to play with your brother or a friend. Just it doesn't hold up to because we were spoiled with this one, right? I'm throwing this one into Master. This, you guys have seen me play this on Twitch or even on YouTube. This is one of my favorite games of all time. It is very close to outbeating my other favorite Ninja Turtle game, which we will be revealing later if you stick around for the end of this podcast episode. Now, why do I like this one so much? They put so much heart and soul into this game, and this game is almost forgotten by Ninja Turtle fans because this was near the end of Turtle Mania. This came out, I can't quote me on it, I want to say it was either 92 or 93. It was when the NES was going backwards in regards to just Super Nintendo was coming out. and Turtle fandom was starting to take a little bit of a step backwards. This is after the first 2 movies, I believe. So why this game, though, to be a master? The passion they had for each turtle. Every turtle had a different special attack. They also had different speed, different attributes. To give another shout out to another good friend of mine, if you guys ever look up a Twitch streamer named Vance Velez, he actually did a podcast with us regarding this game right here, and he tried beating it deathless. Go ahead and check out that video to see if he pulled through, and if not, there's some valuable information there. This one also still has good difficulty. This is high replay value. You can play with a friend. Unfortunately, again, for those who are new to the retro world, unfortunately for these old school turtle games, the best we could do is 2 players, except for 2 that are coming up later. And the bosses are great in here. It pretty much has every Ninja Turtle boss I would want in a game. The only thing that's funny is the cover of this game does have the Triceraton on there, and he is nowhere to be found. So I'm not sure why he didn't make it in this one. Besides that, though, this is just an excellent game to play. It is aged very well. The music is great. We actually streamed this in a giant rubber chicken suit. If you want to check out that playthrough, again, you can go ahead and check us out on YouTube. It's a silly one. We've played this one a lot. What else do I enjoy? Just the music alone. This is probably, of all the Turtle games listed here, I would say this is my favorite soundtrack. And if you guys are here on YouTube or Spotify, please comment down below. I'd like to hear your tier ranks. And if you disagree with any, go ahead and I'd love to debate it. The other cool thing is you get Super Shredder in this one as a final villain. And just the story alone. I mean, what we're doing in this 3rd game is we actually go to the Technodrome early, which is nice because in Turtles 2, we already went to the Technodrome in the final level in the arcade game. So a little bit of a different story. You also get to fight Toka and Razor. So they pay a lot of tribute to Turtles 2, the movie, because we have Super Shredder, Toka, and Razor in. A lot of great different foot soldiers. And I really also enjoy combating with Groundchuck and Dirtbag. So that one is master. And it's, again, this is not, we don't give away master ranks that easy here on the Shellonomics channel. So I don't know how many more we'll make, but if you stick around, you can find out. There we go. Now we go to Nintendo Tournament Fighters, and this is going to go right into the Mouser department. Again, it's a turtle game. It's worth playing, but if again we're comparing this to all the other turtle games as a whole. There's a weird little ball you can get in this when you're doing one-on-one fights that you throw. It's almost like a magic crystal ball. It does a little bit of damage. If you don't get that, you're going to be in trouble. What's nice is all the Ninja Turtle characters do get their own special move set. You'll see Raphael is probably the strongest of the bunch. He has almost a Blanca move where he just bites people's heads. This one can be beaten in about 15 minutes. However, Shredder's a pain in the butt until you figure out his pattern. So good luck with him. Most of the other characters are pretty easy to beat. I do want to give a shout out here because they actually have Hothead in this game. And Hothead was just a toy. He was not based anywhere else. And he's actually on the cover right there, you see, too. So it's very nice to see Hothead in there. You also get to use Casey Jones if you'd like. It's also another plus. Besides that, though, ranking up with all the other Turtle games, it goes in the... On to the next one is the Super Nintendo version of Tournament Fighters. And that's going to go into the Foot Soldier rank. I grew up with this game. We'll share a little, since it is the holiday spirit here, this is being recorded on December 17th, 2004. Our Santa pulled a prank with us on this one. Santa knew I wanted this one. My brother also wanted this game a lot. So what happens is, Christmas rolls around, we're opening up our presents, and my mother and father see that we are very grateful for any gift we receive, but they knew something was up. And they said, like, Mike, why the long face? What's the matter? It's like, well, it's just, I got a lot of stuff here, but the thing I really wanted was that Ninja Turtle Tournament Fighters. So what my Santa did was actually really neat. So we go to the chimney, and they say, oh, it looks like you forgot to put one under the tree. So my brother and I are really hyped, like, oh, no way, it's going to be in here. And it's a box of hot chocolate. Now, mind you, we were roughly 10, 11 years old. Looking back now, we probably could have noticed when we were shaking the box that it wasn't hot chocolate. I think even that 70s show actually has a little joke with that in their Christmas episode. They do. Eric opens up a gift from his mother, and he thought it was going to be a cassette player for his car, and it's a raincoat. And his mom even says, did I fool you? I put rocks in the box so it would seem heavier. So anyways, back to our Christmas story here. So our father goes, well, let's have some hot chocolate, guys. And then he opens it up and he's like, wait a second, this is wrapped. This is not hot chocolate. And we're like, could it be? And it looked like the box of a Super Nintendo game. We open it up, and I don't have the photo on me now, but if I do, I'll probably post it on our Instagram. So, old Polaroid. Do you guys remember those instant cameras where you could take a picture and it would just snap down in the 90s? So we opened it, and I was just ever so happy to get this. I was full of joy. And if I ever do have kids of my own, I'm definitely going to try and think of something like that too. Because it wasn't a prank. It was just a little, just almost a test if you think about it. I mean, how about if I ended up being an ungrateful, unappreciative kid for all the other gifts I did get some cool toys. If I was out there being a pouty, who knows if my parents would have let us have that game. So I guess we passed the gratitude test there when we were a youngin'. So, but as the game as a whole, there is a nice storyline here. It's nice that Shredder is not the main villain. You do get to fight Shredder, but there is somebody else. We won't reveal who. In case you've never played that game, I do encourage you to check it out. And there's also a cool tournament mode in here too. And you also get a surprise with the Rat King. Rat King is a fighter in here. You get some characters you've never seen, like if you can't see it, there's a shark there known as Armagon. That was my brother's favorite character. He had some pretty cool moves. Donatello has a simplistic E-Honda hand slap with his bow. You just keep tapping the attack button, you kind of can go round and round. Everybody, again, has their own little moves. Leonardo fights similar to Ryu from Street Fighter. But when we're talking ranks, again, for this as a whole, it's definitely going to be... here we go. Here is our number one. Or will it be? We still have a couple more on the board, but this one is going to take over Turtles 3, The Manhattan Project by a smidge. Turtles in Time. If you ever look up Super Nintendo game rankings, this game ranks in at least, I would say, the top 5, top 10 of almost every person's ranking. It is probably one of the greatest beat 'em ups. That's still a debate because I do enjoy Streets of Rage 2 for an awesome beat 'em up. If this was a game where I had the option or a magic genie, I could change anything. The only thing I would have changed, and I don't think it would have been possible, was to get the old Super Nintendo multi-tab in there and have this be 4 Turtles. But I'm not sure with the technology we had if that would have even been possible. Now, we did have the multi-tab where we could play NBA Jam, WWF Raw. I remember worked with the multi-tab because we had my brother, my cousin, and I. It always would suck at our birthdays and Christmas and Thanksgiving because we all wanted to play, but you only had 2 controllers, so somebody would always have to share. So they did have games like that. But in regards to this game, besides that multi-tab thing, making this 4-player Turtles, there's nothing I would change. The music is awesome. It's probably my 3rd favorite soundtrack of all the games. We still have one more that's going to rank up there in regards to soundtrack. But Konami just did a great job with all those games. With their music, they put a lot of passion in it. All the characters in here were great. You get to fight Leatherhead, Rat King, get to fight Krang twice, get to fight Shredder twice. A very unique battle with throwing foot soldiers into I don't even know what you call Shredder, in like some sort of machine. And you also get one of the toughest boss battles in the history of all these Ninja Turtle games, and that is Slash. Now, Slash was not a part of the Turtles in Time arcade that was in arcades. What happened was they gave us a couple more levels, similar to what Turtles 2, the arcade game, did for Nintendo compared to the arcade game out in arcades. So, what also I like about Turtles, it's similar to Turtles 3, where every character gets a specific special attack, which is nice. It's a good story. And this is one I've played a lot with pretty much everybody. There's just so many. Again, please do comment below if you're listening to this on YouTube or Spotify. I want to hear your guys' favorite Ninja Turtle stories, because this Turtles in Time, there are so many good ones. Whether it was playing with my cousin and he got... So my aunt had to go to work. I believe I think I was off from school because I went to Catholic school at that time, and my cousin was not, but he wasn't feeling well. So my aunt dropped him off, and she said, absolutely no video games. We snuck in to our room when we were playing, and we were playing some Mario Paint. If you guys remember the fly, where you had to like move your mouser and slap the little fly. We always liked doing that, but he came in, and he was in there. And we were playing Turtles in Time, and my mom was cool, and she was like, well, he's not playing, he doesn't do anything wrong. So she let him in there. But what was funny was one of my cousins had a foul mouth. There was a lot of cussing, so he'd be like, oh, you mother. And nowadays, when we're streaming on Twitch, a lot of us kind of let out that, I guess we can call it repressed retro rage, is when I ding it sometimes. And like, hey, you can't say that. You can't say that. So we don't want to get we don't want to lose our privilege to play. So we kind of like try to hush him up when he would have those, swear words come out, which is kind of funny, but just play with him. This is one of the few games I used to play at my grandma's house. My grandma is my favorite person in the entire universe. I was blessed to have her around all the way up from 1984 to 2004. And it was just such joyous experiences to be able to sit there, play on her big TV. And again, at least my grandmas weren't too good with technology. Like, they didn't know. She's like, don't you break that TV, because all we were doing was just plugging the colored wires in from the Nintendo. You had that AV cable and the big outlet cord. Like, Grandma, it's fine. We're not going to break it. We promise. And just memories like that. Streaming it for you guys on Twitch has been a joy. We've actually done this game in a couple speed runs. I played this game with my good friend, another streaming friend, Shai Batsumi. We've played this with Retro Jenny on her channel with a Cowabunga collab, we called it. And there's just nothing you could take out. The battle is nice. They're very generous with pizza. And we're going to jump into this one next, because Hyperstone Heist was not generous. This one's going to go in the Ninja rank. And it's a notch under Turtles in Time. I would say for the difficulty alone, if you're looking for a challenging game, Hyperstone Heist is probably up there when it comes to beat 'em ups. They are very, I wouldn't say unforgiving with pizza, but if you put this on hard mode, you don't get pizza the farther you go. Again, my friend Vance Velez did a pizza count. In the first world, you get like, I think 3. Second world is 2. Maybe the third one you get 1. But as you grow in this game and advance, you're not getting your free pizza. Whereas Turtles in Time, I believe, had a pizza in every level. So why is this Ninja rank? Similar gameplay to Turtles in Time. A little different, a cool story. And I believe this has aged well, like most of these Ninja Turtle games. You play with 2 players, you couldn't play with 4. I grew up with a Super Nintendo, so I actually didn't get to play this Hyperstone Heist until years later. That's why this one is still almost kind of fresh to me. I didn't get to play it when I was a child. I just appreciate the Super Nintendo mechanics over the Sega Genesis controller. I didn't really like the ABC for my dash, attack, and jump. Just felt smoother on Super. Again, we're comparing all these Turtle games as a whole. I like the story for Hyperstone Heist, and you also get to have Tatsu in there. So again, Turtles in Time, got Toka and Razor. You had to fight them together. You also get Bebop and Rocksteady as a combo, but we're back to Hyperstone. You get Master Tatsu, and this is the only game he appears in. And another cool thing about Hyperstone Heist, for those who are, again, looking for a challenge, there's a gauntlet in here. There is a boss rush level where you take on Leatherhead. You take on the Pizza Monster. You take on Rocksteady. You also take on Tatsu, and then you take on OG Baxter Stockman. You don't take on Baxter the Fly like in Turtles in Time. You take on Baxter with his Mousers, just like in Turtles 2, the arcade game. So it's another fascinating game. You also get Shredder, not Super Shredder. It's another one I do recommend playing. Now, here we go. Now, here, this is what's, this one here, this is another Tournament Fighters. This also gets a Mouser rank. And it's because of the ridiculous difficulty. Now, some of you gamers out there may have had a Sega. I had the Super Nintendo, so I was pretty good. I could hold my own in the Super Nintendo Tournament Fighters. And a cool thing, too, another quick note, if you have the Cowabunga collection, you can actually play Super Nintendo Tournament Fighters online with friends. It's actually pretty wild. So if you're ever looking to fight with somebody, you guys can go ahead and hit me up. I'll take you on. So for the Genesis one, though, you do get Casey Jones as a player. You also get to use April. You get Krang Android. There are some very cool characters in there are not anywhere else in the Ninja Turtle era. So I rank this so low just because it's very frustrating to play on difficulty unless you are Casey Jones. Casey Jones has a cheat move where you can spam a bomb attack. And that is pretty much the only way I have surpassed this game. I do have a playthrough of this on our YouTube channel if you're over there. And boy, was I a swearing sailor. Holy cow. I had to put this on very easy and still had trouble with the final boss. And when I finally beat her, it was on the Cowabunga collection. I believe I kept rewinding and rewinding that spot. Just say, finally got you. Now into our next game here. We're down to our last couple. Now, many people do not know what Manhattan Missions is. This is a hard one to find. This was on Miss DOS. And this goes right up to Evil Brain. Love the artwork on that cover. The story for this is very cool. It feels dark, almost like a Batman the Animated Series. The only thing that sucks is it was not released on the Cowabunga collection. It's a very hard game to find. There are plenty of YouTube playthroughs out there. I would love to find this game and do a stream for you guys. I'd like to actually live this one. I've never played it, but just the story is just so cool. The pictures are great. I do hope you guys check. Definitely. Now we get into the Game Boy era. This one is also going to be a C. Some are going to be shocked, like, why is this one above Turtles 2? Because this game is so short. For those who are looking to beat a Turtle game, for some reason, you can actually play the final level right away. You just pick final level and bam, you're there with all 4 turtles. I like this one because I really enjoy the music. It almost plays like Kung Fu, if you guys know that game for Nintendo. It's just a little back and forth, little hack and slash, little slash up front, little slash up back. What else I enjoy about this one is cutscenes again, man. When they get captured, you feel, because you have to play all 4 turtles, and if you lose one, you pretty much go all the way back to the beginning of the level or a little checkpoint. And it's cool because Krang is the final boss. I really enjoy Konami again for this because at the time, a lot of us as kids, who's the main villain? Is it Krang? Is it Shredder? Shredder, is it Krang? And Konami's like, you know what? Shredder and Super Shredder are pretty much the final boss in every turtle game. Make it Krang in this one. And I thought that was pretty cool. So this one and this game only will, I would say this one could take you about an hour to beat. If you play it on the Cowabunga Collection and you're using that rewind cheat, you could probably beat it in 45 minutes. I really enjoy it. Definitely fighting the evil. And how ironic, right? We are ranking this evil brain, and who's the final boss? Krang. Now we go to the second Game Boy game, and this one's going to go right up to Ninja. This one is an enhanced version of the first one. It is awesome. Cool cutscenes. Turtles have a little bit more abilities. In the first Game Boy game, you're able to throw throwing stars, whereas in this one, there's like a little slide attack. You get to go on a skateboard. Music is, I don't want to play this while I'm doing this podcast. A lot of fun. A lot of good boss fights as well in this one. There's really nothing to complain about except if you didn't grow up with a Game Boy. This is black and white gaming here. My first experience playing these Game Boy games, Game Boy 1 and Game Boy 2 for Turtles, was on a Super Nintendo. I didn't like Game Boy as a child. I didn't like that in my era we had to hold it up pretty much to a light. I didn't like that. I didn't have a Game Boy until 1999. My first Game Boy was a Game Boy Color with the Mario Brothers Deluxe. And my one friend in high school said, Mike, you've never played these Turtle games? You're a big Turtle fan. I'm going to let you borrow my Super Game Boy with these. So that was my experience playing these on the Super Nintendo via Super Game Boy. Curious if anybody else ever played these games via the Super Game Boy. And if you did, what were your thoughts? Did you like it better on the Super Game Boy? Or did you like holding that little gadget in your hand? So we are down to our final 3. Now here's one I don't think a lot of people played, and that is Radical Rescue, the third one for the Game Boy. And we're going to throw this one into the Foot Soldier. Now, if you're a fan of Metroid and you haven't played this one, I encourage you to find a way to play this immediately. This one is very challenging. This one holds a special place in my heart because Michelangelo is the only turtle there in the beginning. You have to find the other turtle. Really cool. It's another unique game here. Style of gameplay is different too. All the turtles have special moves. There's a lot of villains that you don't see in any other Ninja Turtle era because a lot of them weren't even cartoons. They were from the toy line. You get Scale Tail, and you also get Scratch in here. I believe Triceraton is in here. The Shredder fight is insanely hard. Even with passwords. You do get passwords in this game. I don't have too much experience with it, but I would put it right up here in Foot Soldier territory. It's not the worst game of all time. And if you're a fan of Metroid gaming, and again, this is actually shocking to say, since I did say I never played Manhattan Mission. I have never beaten Radical Rescue. That might be on my things to do in 2025. This is the last Ninja Turtle game I have yet to beat. Even if I beat it with cheats, I'd count it as a win. But Turtles 1 we did beat this year. Now we have 2 left. We have the arcades. This one has to go way up here. This is a master rank, the Turtles original arcade. What more do you want? You get to play with 3 of your friends as Turtles. Tons of fun. Loads and loads of quarters. I used to be the guy who would, I'm not ashamed to admit it, I'd be sure I was hiding when the boss fights would come if I could, because I wanted to make sure my quarters would. Why, I was that guy. Now, if I knew if I can get a cheap couple hits in, I would. What's nice, I'll share a tip here for those of you who have made it this far. Thank you so much. We're going for about 30 minutes stronger on this podcast, ranking these turtle games. When you're fighting Bebop, you hit him once and then walk away because he has an automatic attack. That's my first tip. Never played the arcade. And the second one is during the spot where the helicopters are shooting down on you. You go all the way to the top. It's the one where you're on the skateboards. The ones with lasers can't hurt you. Now the rockets can. Regular lasers don't. The reason I love this game and why it is master rank, I love the other 2. the replay value is there. Those 3 games up in Master Rank, I play at least 5 times a year. I've been doing it since I was a kid. Whether it's with friends or by myself, I just love those games so much. The joy they bring me. This arcade game's a quick one too, this first one, guys. You can beat it roughly within 20 to 35 minutes, I would say max. What's great is because the story takes place like you're watching the first 5 episodes of the original Ninja Turtles cartoon with a little bit of a splash. I mean, start off, there's a fire in April's apartment, and you get to see all the turtles jump. I'm a Michelangelo guy, and I'm still a little sad that he gets unconscious when he jumps. You know, he's supposed to be the most athletic turtle of the bunch. He gets knocked out when he jumps in April's building. You also get Roadkill Rodney in there, which is nice. Do not resist us. I'm sure somebody has that coming to mind, right? Anytime you play the Turtles arcade game. And of course, the most famous line, dare I say, from any Ninja Turtle game ever. Say your prayers, Turtles. I mean, that has to come to mind for at least, I would say, 70% of Ninja Turtle fans out there who have played the arcade game. That has to come to mind right away. Say your prayers, Turtles. Rocksteady. Awesome first boss fight because he comes out of the module. I mean, the graphics in this were so cool. The attacks were great. What I want to know is if anybody could answer this question for me. So, this one plays similar to Turtles 2 the arcade for Nintendo, except Raphael has a different special attack, and I always wondered why he had that. When you hit your attack and jump button, they all do a jump swing. Leo's got his sword, Mike's got his chuck, Don's got his bow staff. Raphael does a somewhat of like a little, like, I guess a somersault into a kick. And maybe because the Sai was too small, but in the Nintendo game, he just does the jump attack like the other Turtles. So I always wanted to answer that question. I never got to dug deep enough to get that. What else is great is you get to fight the Stone Warriors. I believe, besides Turtles 2 for the Game Boy, so this isn't the only game, but you get to fight General Trag and Granitor in this awesome arcade game. I mean, you get to fight Bebop and Rocksteady. They pay homage to the cartoon because when you fight Bebop and Rocksteady together, they run into each other. You get to fight Baxter Stockman. Music is awesome. You always get the ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding. Somebody's got to know that melody where the continue's going down, and you're like, oh my God, I have no more quarters. What do I do? Mom, or whatever. I played these games as kids. We actually had this is really going deep. Does anybody remember a Little Caesars? Now, not the Pizza, but there was a Little Caesars arcade, and that's where I played this one. I grew up in Illinois, and it almost looked like, as a kid and you're trying to vision, really digging deep, 35 years back. We also had an Aladdin's Castle out here in Illinois. That was where my 2 arcades. And just this arcade was huge. So I just remember it almost like how they have it in Wreck-It Ralph in Toy Story, where you walk in and it's just, you're just in heaven. As long as you got quarters. I did finally beat it at the arcade because what sucked is anytime you'd play, if nobody's playing, you start off at the first level. There was one time I'm like, Mom, get $5, please. They are at the Technodrome. We've never gotten this far. We can actually do this. I can finally beat this game. So I did get to enjoy it, beating it as a kid. I also like checking out the profiles. Those turtles. They had the age for each of them. Thought that was pretty wild. You also get the real theme song too. They had the rights to the theme song. Now, if you play this on the Cowabunga collection, you're not going to get that. You're going to get some, no disrespect, but it's not the same feels as just walking into the arcade and hearing your cartoon jam blaring, and you're like, I gotta play this. Dare I say, probably the best beat 'em up arcade ever. Konami had some good ones. You had this one we're going to talk about next, X-Men and Simpsons. But I just love the first Turtles because it's just such a great fast game to play, and all the multiple shredders for the final boss. I mean, what a genius way to get kids to pop in quarters. I'm going to take all your life at one of my retro mutagen rays. Done. Now you got to pop in another quarter. And what I was told is, as I've gotten older, is the more people who played, the harder the HP was. So as a kid, you'd think it's the other way around. Hey, if I have more turtles, I'm going to be better. The HP of the villains would go up, which makes sense now that you look at it, because otherwise, if they had the same HP as one token, what's the sense of that? They wouldn't get as many quarters. So this game, just so many good memories. Like I say, finally beating it as a kid. It was interesting because I love this game so much. There's a place out in Illinois called Fish Lake, and they had this arcade. I was always a Michelangelo guy. And as you guys know, if you don't do maintenance to your arcades, they're going to break. Whether the joysticks go bad, the joystick doesn't go left. You have to like really smack it. And the only one that worked was Leonardo. Every time I'd go out there, I'd still throw in a couple bucks just to play because I just love this game so much. It's such a joy, the world we live in with technology now. I never thought I'd be able to play this game from my own home. I never thought I'd be able to play this online. So the first initiation I had playing this at home, did anybody have an Xbox 360 growing up? Now you can't do this anymore because I believe it's not available for purchase, but at the time, and it did have the original theme song. You could buy this off of the Xbox Live Arcade. You could get this, X-Men, and Simpsons. Now what's funny is, I didn't have the 360. My brother did. But I told him, he was very silly, like, Mike, I asked you to split this. You didn't put any money in this thing. Like, but I'll buy you these games. It's like, dude, you can play it. He's like, Mike, I spent hundreds of dollars on this. I'm not going to let you play. I was lucky enough to talk him into it, though. And he's like, all right. I'll let you in. So I bought him that. And it was just so cool to see because that was my first time playing with my friends online. I didn't really game too much in the high school, early 2000s. I didn't have a Wii. I don't think I had a Wii U growing up. The last system I had was just, I believe, a PlayStation 2. I didn't have PlayStation 3 or the Xbox or Xbox 360, but I did have, like I say, my brother at the time, living together, we were able to play. And these achievements, I still cannot get the one. There is one achievement I can't get in this arcade, and it's not getting turned into a baby turtle from Shredder. And I guess, besides trying to beat Radical Rescue in 2025, maybe I bust out the old Xbox 360, try a live stream, and see if I can not get our final game here. Turtles in Time for the arcade. We are going to rank this as an evil brain. I'm sure they're going to be shocked because they're like, Mike, how can that not be a master? How can it not be a ninja? A couple of my reasons. And one of the reasons is it's a little bit slower. What I mean by slower is that you can't, it doesn't seem that it drags, but just the pace slows down compared to the first arcade. I'm sure somebody hopefully will understand what I'm talking about. I hope that makes sense. So the specials are there. Each turtle has a different special attack compared to just all doing a jump swing in the first one. It's the Big Apple 3 AM. I'm sure everybody remembers because that's what starts off the game. It's nice having Krang in that first level too. It is Prepare to Die. You also get the Pizza Power song from the Coming Out of Their Shells tour, which is another cool song to have blaring out of your system. Very nice. But as a whole, you're talking about all these other Turtle Gem games. For me, I rank it as Evil Brain. So I'm curious if anybody else is that. So again, look at this list right here. Right off to the sunset momentarily, as every game has been. Turtles in Time for Super Nintendo beats out the arcade by levels. The original arcade beats out the ported arcade 4 levels. So I'm curious to see how you guys are ranked. This is only the Ninja Turtle retro game. We all know if Shredder's Revenge was on this list, Shredder's Revenge would climb right up the map. You get 6 characters, but we'll save that one for a different. Shredder's Revenge could probably actually do a podcast on whether we're just playing and talking through the game or just chat with somebody, even maybe a developer we can get. So, your guys' thoughts on your own, where you would rank these. Do you like Turtles 3 as much? Like the arcade game? If you were to choose which games you could live without, I would probably say none. I still would have liked to play every one of these games. I'm going to look one more if there's any. Take off and appreciate your time here on this pre-recorded live podcast. So I would say anything else I would change with this list now that I'm looking at it again after a second glance. A quick recap. So the Mousers, which are the ones that are probably the worst, be Tournament Fighters for Nintendo and Sega. And it didn't really care for the fighting and the difficulty in the Sega one. A little crybaby at that, but the difficulty's hard. Graphics are awesome in this game. It's really hard to climb in that one. Super Nintendo a little easier in the Tournament Fighters, and I like the story mode a little bit better in theirs. A little bit more of cutscene. Turtles Super Nintendo, could it go to Evil Brain? Possibly. It's just a dropkick fest. That's all. Radical Rescue, could it go to Evil Brain? Again, possibly. It could have been a C, but just again, difficulty, man. And it's one I've never played too much. So with my expertise, I can't say enough on it. I guarantee you though, if you're a retro gamer or someone who likes challenges or Metroid, as we mentioned earlier, give it a shot. Looking at the middle tier here, again, a lot of people. I've seen some Ninja Turtle video game rankings throughout the years, and a lot of people hate the original Nintendo game. I love it because I've gotten older. I also liked it as a kid. It's just I couldn't really get too far. That's all. The farthest I got as a kid was up to It was getting the ropes and taking on the fake Mecha Turtle. That's as far as I would get. I never got to the Technodrome. In high school, my friend came over with his old Nintendo, and we still couldn't beat the game. We got a nice pizza. We watched the Red Sky Turtle episodes, and we also were just thinking we were going to beat it. He stocked up on scrolls, and we couldn't beat those doggone stormtroopers. Konami, if you're hearing me, this would be a Christmas miracle. If there was a way to get Manhattan Missions as DLC for your Cowabunga collection, please get it on there. I feel it's a shame that not many people even knew this game existed. It's a great one to watch. Playthroughs on YouTube. It's a very hard one to find. If you have played it, let me know your thoughts. I'd love to do a playthrough of that. All the Foot Clan, a great game. We did that. Turtles Arcade. Could it go to Ninja Tier? I'm sure a lot of people would rank that up at Ninja Tier, but for me, it's okay. Ninja Ranks, Hyperstone Heist, and Turtles 2 for Game Boy. That's where they belong. And my top 3, just because these, again, I play, God, just so much. So many great memories from all 3 of these. So, curious to hear what you guys have for your own Turtle Retro Gaming list. And if you guys haven't yet, please like and subscribe. Do check us out on Spotify. And if you're looking and you're on Spotify or the podcast version of this on YouTube, iTunes, Amazon, you can go ahead and check out our YouTube video if you wanted to see where these little rankings are. And we hope to see you guys in the next podcast. Thanks for sticking around. And one more question I do have, guys. So, what is your favorite Ninja Turtle game of all time and your favorite Turtle gaming memory? I mean, like I said already, nothing is going to top beating Turtles 1. That is climbing Mount Everest. I couldn't call myself a retro game streamer unless I beat that one. I was on a mission. Thankfully, I had some good friends supporting me on that live stream. It was just fun beating it live in front. The playthrough on YouTube runs for about 3.5 hours. It could have went 6 or 7 because I struggled a lot. You do get one continue in the game, but just for me, if I lost my sack of scrolls, which I stocked up, and I got the game over in the Technodrome, oof, it didn't bode well. Anyways, though, guys, thank you guys again for checking us out, and we hope to see you in the next podcast.
King Mike and the heroes in a half shell.
Thanks for listening to Shellonomics. Follow us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for the video version. Stay tuned for more Ninja Turtles insights.